You've seen the schedule. So let's not waste each other's time here, because we don't have a lot of time doing the hard stuff that we need to do to get to where we want to go. This is about winning. It's about winning the world championship, period.
It's time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy from inside the Globe Life studio here at the beautiful Star in Frisco. Bill Jones along with Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, as the Cowboys are on the road for the third straight week, playing at the Meadowlands against the Giants. A noon kickoff this week, trying to get to 10 wins on the season. You know, it seems like, Coach, with every win, the games get more and more important every week.
Oh, definitely. And I just, as you know, the last, 4 or 5 years, the way they've had the schedule set up with the division games here at the end, so it even makes them more enticing. So, yeah, it's just, getting to 10 wins, obviously, will speak a lot for us, and getting to our our fourth division victory will be big for us. So just staying focused on the Giants prep. Obviously, a lot going on. I'm sure we'll talk about the COVID protocols here in a second, but just got to stay the course, and going on the road to win is always hard, and the expectation of what New York's going to come at us with is is part of our prep process. But this is an important game for a lot of different reasons.
Well, you mentioned the COVID protocols and new protocols reinstituted Thursday night. You worked late on Thursday night putting those in, making sure. How has the team reacted to that stuff over the course, really, of the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think clearly having the experience of last year is helpful. It was something that, as a coaching staff, we spent a lot of time in the off season. Actually, had to use the virtual format in the off-season program, but we're doing a much better job. Our players are reacted seamlessly to it. The meetings went smooth, and and we'll still be able to get our on-the-field prep too. So I don't think this will affect our preparation.
All right, the Washington game, the return of Randy Gregory and others. How great is it having Randy back? His impact was felt not only at the beginning of the game with the interception, but at the end of the game with the forced fumble sack.
Definitely. I just think as you look at our defense going through training camp, as we talked, all the way back in Oxnard, it's just how important it is to, to have these guys at this point in the season. So it's fun to be out there full strength. I think the pressure was felt immediately. Like you said, the big play capability is definitely as high as it's ever been throughout the season. But just watching this thing come together, and it's important for us to build off this last victory and take another step against the Giants.
So pull back the curtain. Dan Quinn behind the scenes, when he's got all his guys back, he rubbing his hands together, saying, "Okay, what can I come up with next?"
I think it's more, frankly, is getting the playtime, sequence, laid out, is because you want to make sure you're creating opportunities for everybody. So that's really the biggest challenge, I think. Schematically, we're set into how we want to play, and we've been a volume defense all year, so that won't change. We just got to continue to fine-tune the details and make sure we're giving our guys opportunities.
Playing the Giants this week, obviously in the media there's a lot of comparisons between Micah Parsons and LT, Lawrence Taylor, and I love the way Mike is handling those questions. He says, "I've only played 13 games in this league. I appreciate the comparison, but he's gone back and looked at LT and what he did. Do you see as at least his rookie year, so where the comparison is legit?"
I'm not a big fan of comparables.
Right.
I don't think it's I don't think it's fair to the current player, and it's definitely not fair to the Hall of Fame players. So obviously Mike is off to a great start. I think the game of football is very natural for him. I do like his humility that he expressed this week in respect to Lawrence Taylor. So I think it's the fact that it's even been brought up. I think it tells you what people think of Micah, and he's off to a great start. But he's just getting started.
Yep. Run defense was big last week, and it needs to be big this week with Barkley on the other side, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, time of possessions, you look at both Washington and the Giants, and obviously time of possession in these division games is usually a key, component of who's successful. Time of possession, obviously turnover ratio, and those were both big for us in Washington, and I definitely look at this contest this week as as the primary focus of how the Giants will. I'm sure they're going to try to control the ball with the run, and I think that we'll be high alert for deceptives and things like that. And they got a new play caller, so we're just trying to stay in tune with that. But at the end of the day, we just got to make sure that we're giving our guys opportunity to make plays.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore, the Dallas Morning News.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T, Ford, built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by Reliant, an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
It's an honor that people are doing that, but I mean, to be compared to like a Hall of Famer so early on, I mean, it's just not ready to be in the conversation yet. It's still a long way to go. I mean, he had 142, so I have 130 more sacks to go before we can start saying, yeah, that was LT. So let's just chill and, you know, keep enjoying the work that I got to keep putting in to get there.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now here inside the Globe Live studio at the Star. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. How about we talk Micah Parsons? It seems like everybody wants to talk Micah Parsons. And let's talk LT. And for those of you young out there, when you say LT, you think LaDainian Tomlinson. But we are old enough to have seen LT play not only in the NFL, but in college as well. Do you see similarities between Micah Parsons and Lawrence Taylor?
Well, not only us, but the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, Dan Quinn, grew up in New Jersey. And who did he have a poster of on his wall growing up? Lawrence Taylor. And now we'll go back to another former Cowboys coach, Bill Parcells, and let's not break out the anointing oil just yet. Lawrence Taylor is one of the most dominant defensive players this league has ever seen. His body of work is staggering. He's a Hall of Famer. Micah Parsons is off to a great start in the first 13 games of his career, but he certainly has a long way to go to be mentioned in that breath. But you understand why people are saying that. One, you have the matchup with New York this week, and Parsons has just had such a dramatic impact on the game early in the season. But even Micah Parsons will say it's premature to have that conversation. Let's give it some time there.
Yeah, I love the way Parsons is handling the questions about LT. All right, let's move to the offensive side of the football and the quarterback position. Okay, the question of the week that seemed to be posed was, is this quarterback in a slump?
And to me, that's a fascinating question because I fall on the side of, I don't know when a quarterback is playing poorly, you can really call it a slump. I think in baseball it's easier to do. In basketball, a shooting slump, a lot of, but when you're talking, offense is so interconnected, and what happens depends so much not just on the quarterback, but on the protection he gets, the routes being run, whether or not there's a run game. Now, I will say, I think you can make poor decisions as a quarterback when things around you are breaking down, and I think we have seen that over the last few weeks with Dak Prescott. But I think where their offense is right now, to me, I compare it to almost like a rolling blackout sort of thing. They're changing places in the offensive line. You've had issues at wide receiver, players in and out. The run game isn't what it was. And now because of all of that, Dak Prescott is not as prolific as he was early. I wouldn't call it a slump, but he's certainly not playing as well as he was earlier.
All right, 30 seconds. This team has a chance not only to win a division, but you look at the landscape in the NFC, that number one seed is still out there.
Yeah, 3-game lead in the division with 4 left. That's really a foregone conclusion. Now you're looking at seeding. Dallas has lost to Tampa Bay, so any head-to-head, they're going to finish behind them in seeding. But Dallas has a game with Arizona in hand, and you look at the conference record, they have a better conference record than Green Bay or Arizona. So if they wind up tied there, they're going to have an edge. So seeding for 2 and 3, in my mind, is still very much in play.
All right, David Moore, we appreciate it. And up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, let's take a trip to the film room with Isaiah Stanback. Get his take on what's going on with this Cowboys offense.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's 11 of us out there, so I wouldn't say you could put anything on one player, because it takes 11 guys to make a play, and I think that we all need to play better, the whole offense collectively.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, as I am now joined by Isaiah Stanback here in the film room as we take an up-close look at not only the Cowboys offense, but the defense as well. Let's start on the offensive side of the football as they go into this game against the Giants, and there has been a struggle at times of late, and he's been in the film room, Isaiah has, to break it all down. What do you got for us?
Everybody wants to know what is going on with this Dallas Cowboys offense, and I can't tell you guys that it's just one thing. Everybody has a hand in it, but I can say that we have to do a better job of running the ball. We're not going to show that on this particular play, but running the ball is efficient for this team. That's an absolute must. But I'm going to show you guys exactly what's going on with Dak and some of the other reasons why we're having 6 interceptions over the last 6 games. You guys are going to see this route concept right here, okay? You're going to have Gallup down here running about a 10 to 12 yard stop route. His job is to run 10 yards, 12 yards, and stop, all right? But you want to work back downhill if you have coverage, okay? Also up here, you have CeeDee Lamb's going to come up. He's running about 12 to 14 yard in. He's going to put his foot in the ground and come straight across the formation. He's looking for this hole right back on his backside if he can't get it in this first hole, okay? So you got a 2-hole option there. As well as that, you're going to have a double under concept, okay? So you have the deep end, you have a 5-yard in and a 5-yard in. You're looking for these little windows, okay? If you don't get it in this pocket here, Dak is looking for this short pocket here or the backside one as well, all right? But he's looking for man-to-man coverage here if he can't win. All right, let's see how this thing plays out. All right, snap the ball. First of all, you got single high coverage. Pause it right there. What you're seeing is you're seeing guys start to squat. They're not respecting our ability to throw the ball deep, mainly because of the fact we haven't been able to protect up front to give Dak time to throw it down the field. Also, what you're seeing this safety sit in the middle of the field, keyed in on anything that's an in-breaking route, okay? You have guys that are giving up this inside, so CD should be able to win easily right here. We have to find a way to get this man down here, and that's going to be with them respecting the run. But he's sitting back there. As you see here, Dak has all the time in the world on this particular play to deliver the ball. Pause it here. Instead of hitting him on this next hole, this second hole, he airs it, all right, inerrant throw over the top, way over the head of CeeDee Lamb to Collins. Bad play in terms of his ability to throw it into the proper hole and his effectiveness actually with his mechanics to deliver a good ball.
So much more went into it than just an errant throw there. And it starts with running the football. And in the last 6 games, the Cowboys have not run the football like they did the first 6 games of this season.
No, they did not. They did not at all. And there's something that they need to shore up. Obviously, there's Tony Pollard is injured. Zeke hasn't been 100%. There's have to find a way, Kellen Moore, to be effective, whether that's getting the ball in CeeDee Lamb's hands and fly sweeps or Gallup as well in the screen game. But we have to find a way to make these defenses respect the run game.
Okay, the question of the week, what's wrong with Dak and the Cowboys offense? Okay, the other question of the week, what is right with this Dallas defense? And a smile comes over Isaiah's face when he talks about this D.
We have a lot of dogs, and they're all hunting, okay? These guys are all taking care of business, but it's not just the personnel on the field. It is some guy by the name of Dan Quinn. He's kind of a mastermind when it comes to having all these resources at his in his hand. And I want to show you exactly what he's doing to give these guys opportunities to have man-on-man opportunities. He feels good about the personnel. So you're going to see this tackle has to respect D-Law, right? The next man up is going to be this guard is going to be keyed in right here on Micah Parsons. The center is going to take Gallimore, right? We're going to fan it out here to Osa, and then Armstrong has the tackle. This is man on man. All you need is one guy to win, okay? And what you're going to see here is this guy right here. Micah Parsons is not going to, he understands that he's not 300 pounds. He can't take this guy head on. So what does he do? He uses his speed. He shoots half a body, okay? So right here, you guys are going to see him split this man in half. He's going to choose the right side of this right guard, dip and rip, try to get through here utilizing his speed. Now we have a stunt route on the backside preventing this offensive guard from being able to get back and protect. You're creating this nice little pocket where this quarterback Heineke now has to step up. Parsons wins his battle, okay, comes up, gets the strip sack. Armstrong picks up the ball. Now it's a party in the end zone. You are seeing a mastermind at work in terms of his ability to win, and he is having fun with all his toys on this defensive front.
And by the way, Micah Parsons, that right guard he was beating on that play just happened to be Brandon Sheriff. Not a bad player, right?
Not bad at all.
All right, Isaiah, we appreciate it. The Mike McCarthy Show continues in a moment as the coach rejoins us and we take an up-close look at these New York Giants. The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now here inside the Globe Life studio as the coach rejoins us. We take an up-close look at this Giants team. And defensively, of course, you're very familiar with Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Giants. When you look at their two most recent wins, the takeaway margin was big for that team. Xavier McKinney had 3 interceptions in those 2 wins. I think their plus-minus was +7 in those wins. Obviously, taking the ball away is so key for your team as well. What do you see when you face a Patrick Graham defense?
Well, what you're seeing more now, because I think traditionally Patrick, he believes in cover one. He's a man-to-man, from his background. But they're playing a lot more vision defense. They're playing a lot more quarters defense, which is out of the norm for him. So it's really, from a coverage perspective, they're playing a lot differently than they did at the beginning of the year. So, he's multiple front. They played every front in football against us in the first game, so we're probably anticipating that. But I think those guys are playing with really good discipline, really good vision. And they're really focused on making you go the long way. So we just got to be patient and stay the course.
What are you seeing in your pass game right now, and how big has it been to be able to get your guys out on the practice field now, basically over a 2-week period after a disjointed schedule and with COVID and injuries and stuff for much of the season?
Practice is important. It's the most important thing we do on a daily basis, and anytime we could just continue to tighten up our time clocks and stay true to our spacing and our depths and so forth. So I really like to work, particularly in the Thursday practice. The extra work after practice. So it's really what this time of year is about. It's all execution. Execution is everything in December. I think your schematic journey that you take at the start of the year, you can get on top of some people schematically just because of the unscouted looks and things like that. But this really comes down to it's always been about the fundamentals and techniques, but it's definitely heightened in December, and that's been our focus.
And as far as the run game, in the first meeting with the Giants, went for 200 yards rushing. Zeke went for 115. Pollard with 75. Are you seeing signs here in the last week or so that the run game is going to get back to the same level it was the first 6 games of the year?
A big part of the run game is continuity. So I think the fact that with Tyron's injury, we have to work through that, and and I think Zeke's had a really good week. Hopefully Tony can go Sunday. We'll see how his preparation ends on Saturday. So it's the consistency comes from continuity and reps. We've done a good job of committing to the run, but we want to be balanced. We want to make sure we're giving our guys opportunities to make plays, and I'm excited about the opportunity to grow in the run game.
One little wrinkle last week with C.D. Lamb lining up at tailback. He seems to be the type that relishes that role.
Oh, definitely. C.D.'s dangerous with the ball in his hands, regardless if it's on a reception or a punt return or definitely from the backfield. So, he's definitely exceptional, yards after contact.
All right, we will wrap up this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment. Final couple of minutes of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Time for our Unsung Star of the Week, who never is unsung behind the walls here at the Star. But it was, we talked about Randy Gregory, the return of him at the top of the show. How about the return of Neville Gallimore, his first game of the year? And I would say Neville made his presence known, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. He's just such a powerful player. You look at just his play style and his twitch and his density inside. I think, it's great to have him back. We didn't want to give him a full play to reps, but the power sack that he had was a huge play. But he makes a huge difference inside for us.
Yeah, I think he had 30 snaps or so in the game. When you look at, we saw flashes of that at times last year. Of course, third-round pick out of Oklahoma. When you look at his background growing up in Canada, maybe a little late to football, his potential is off the charts, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. You saw it at the end of his rookie year. I thought he finished his rookie season very strong. Had a great training camp, and we were expecting big things, and had the injury out there in Arizona in a preseason game. But he's back, and it was great to have him out there. You definitely felt him.
Now, last week, the bench area looked a little different. The Cowboy benches there. Is it necessary to have Cowboy benches? What's the bench situation like at the Meadowlands?
I tell you, I get to the stadium early. I might have been the last guy to hear about it, so I didn't realize it was such a big deal that when you rent benches. But I get what I'm learning at every turn, everything's a big deal here in Dallas.
That's exactly right. All right, well, good luck at the Meadowlands against the Giants. We appreciate all of you joining us here for the Mike McCarthy Show, and we will see you again next week when the Cowboys will finally be back home to take on Washington.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. Geico, switch today and see all the ways you could save. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.